More than 300 of the 800 stores that Woolworths used to occupy are still standing empty more than a year and a half after it collapsed at the end of 2008. Frozen food chain Iceland has taken over tenancies of around 60 of the stores, and nearly 1 in 4 now house a discount retailer. However, a report by the local data company found that around 40% of the group's 807 stores have never been reoccupied. Well, Matthew Hopkinson is a director at the local data company which carried out the research. He joins me from our central London studio. Matthew, thanks for joining us. Why? Why so few takers for these stores?
Well, I think the good news is that we've gone from 40% to 60%, so majority. But if you look at the spread of Woolworths, it was right across the country. So, Dealing, Kent to Doncaster. So lots of these secondary and tertiary towns in the UK which have been really suffering in the last 18 months are where these Woolworths stores are, and there just isn't the demand as retailers shrink to larger formats in larger centres.
About Woolworths, despite all its other faults, its many faults that caused it to collapse, one thing it did have was its stores often occupied really good positions on the high street, by the station, by the tube station, whatever. Surely that means that those sites are attractive.
I think they're attractive sites. I think there are two things. One, they're quite large sites, so if you're a small retailer, it's probably too large a format. And secondly, Woolworths had some, we're in there for a very long time, and some of these buildings owned by private landlords are in quite a state of disrepair, so the occupancy cost is quite considerable. So when you combine that with also the growth of supermarkets, internet and retailers shrinking into the larger centres, then they do become less attractive, unfortunately.
Matthew, obviously Woolworths is no more. Who owns these stores that are lying empty? Who is taking the hit?
I think, as I understand it, it's a large number of private landlords. So it's not the large sort of institutional investors, and they're the kind of locations where people put money into their pension pot. And I think they are really hurting. We've seen some demolished as a result to avoid business rates. So I don't think it can go on for much longer before something has to change or the local authority has to help in some way, because they are big units in prominent locations.
Matthew Hopkinson from the local data company, thank you for joining us.